Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So today we are talking love and marriage, Huntsville. You guys know why you are here. Before we get into the video really quickly, I wanted to do a numbers update because I feel this is important as it pertains to these Tasha K interviews with the Love and Marriage Huntsville cast and wannabe cast members. So the largest viewed video of the Love and Marriage Huntsville clan or the adjacent clan of people trying to be on the show is with, of course, Martell's side chick at 908,000 viewers for the interview that took place a couple of years ago. Melody Cherie's interview, also is at 479,000 views. And the chaotic Martell interview that aired yesterday is now sitting at 88,000 views. So I just wanted to provide that update. I wanted you guys to keep track of the numbers for any of you who are still trying to sneak over and watch when we're telling you the tea, when we're telling you what took place on our platforms. But nonetheless, in this particular video, I am going to talk about Funky Dineva and his comments about Martell. And this is hilarious to me because Funky Dineva, he's still going live every day at the same time as Fox Soul's TGIF, even though he said he wasn't going to do it, but he's doing it. He said in his live last night, you guys, that Martell had also tried to call Funky Dineva for an interview, and that Funky Dineva declined because he knew, well, first he said he didn't answer it, but he somehow knew that Martell wanted to drag Melody Cherie and wanted to utilize the interview to basically attack Melody Cherie the whole time and not talk about himself or anything that he has going on or anything as it pertained to the show, if it is not a dig at Mel. And I found this interesting because a couple of weeks ago, the same Funky Dineva was going in on the Love and Marriage Huntsville fan base. He was going in on the people who are convinced that the Scotts have cheated on their wives, according to Martell's side chick herself, and Martell himself on the show. We aren't just, talking about it out of nowhere. This came directly from Martell and his side chick, who was trying to tell anybody who listened that his co-stars were cheaters too, right? So that was the one thing. And then the other thing was that he made the nasty comments about Melody Cherie and was saying that if he was Martell, he would be dragging Melody Cherie and calling her all of these crabs and all of these oysters and all of these inappropriate names and references to seafood and fish and all these things, and would have had Mel in tears. This is what he said. And then had the audacity to say, oh, well, he doesn't want to talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville because he doesn't want to deal with the millimeters. He doesn't like the fan base and all these things, and that they do too much and blah, 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 blah. But I found this interesting that you did not want to take, Martell's interview, even though you had just said a couple of weeks ago that you would have gave him some reads, quote unquote, to drag Melody Cherie Rogers with, right? But now all of a sudden you have a conscience, right? Now all of a sudden you have a moral compass to not partake in a Martell interview, even though you were encouraging reads and encouraging disrespectful things for him to say about his ex-wife. Make it make sense, you guys. I think he honestly didn't want the smoke from the millimeters. I think he didn't want to get dragged. I think also with him trying to integrate himself back into YouTube with all of the different updates on the platform and the algorithm, since he was not doing it full time when he was on TGIF, that he's not trying to lose any subscribers who still are fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville and who still are millimeters, even though he still does drag black women. But nonetheless, I do think as he's trying to build, his, audience back up and do more consistent videos and all of the things and lives and all of that in interaction with his subs, that he did not want that smoke. Because if you go over, and see whether it is on Instagram or on the comments of Tasha K's interview with Martell, it is just nothing but drags. It is just nothing but just dragging this interview, dragging Tasha K for having the audacity, dragging Martell for the lies. Like I said, there's still pick-me's in there who are trying to, make Martell happen for whatever reason. I don't understand it. Either they're just too male-identified or they have a crush on him and he's not thinking about any of them. He's not thinking of them at all. But the one reason I did want to bring this up in particular is I always was under the impression the moment that Martell got arrested, he was always going to try to do this as revenge. That he was mad about this, Revenge P arrest, and therefore was going to try to get Melody SHARI back in some way to make him seem like he is some type of DV victim, which is exactly what he did. And we can roll the tapes, right? He has been doing things tit for tat from the start, right? Because as we know initially, even though it was engineered by the Scotts on the show to encourage this discussion of the Holtz, marriage and Martell cheating, even though that was engineered when they planned the anniversary party, people forget about that. People forget that it wasn't just, Mel and Martell just putting this out in the open for the people. They were being gaslit by their own co-stars to talk about it, but then they don't want to talk about their stuff, but wanted to piggyback off of the Martell and Melody SHARI drama. But nonetheless, when Martell, finally copped to it and it got exposed and everything else, and then his mistress, of course, wanted to expose herself and has been trying to get on the show, that's never going to happen, he was pissed that he was the only one, quote unquote, exposed. And if you'll recall, remember he called out, Chris Fletcher for cheating on his wife too, but that his wife took him back. And remember he had put out there that, then wanted to talk about Marceau cheating, right? And said that Marceau was the one that had the 20 girlfriends and everything else. And remember Letitia never had any smoke for Martell. And took it out on Mel, still takes it out on Mel, and tries to think that Mel is trying to, quote, destroy her marriage and all these things, right? When it was Martell that exposed this, right? So obviously, since none of these alleged mistresses are going to come forward because they actually had things to lose, they actually were in relationships or married to other people, or had professional jobs and careers, unlike Martell's mistress, who had nothing to lose, who was broke, who had nothing to her name other than this association to Martell and enjoying Martell spending Mel's money on her at the time when they were married. Once that didn't work, once this cheating didn't stick, because all the Scotts did was deny it, and if you don't have any parties that are willing to come forward on the show to corroborate the story, it kind of just looks like you are going round and round in a circle, right? So he then pivots to Mel. And then accuses Mel of cheating, whether it is with, putting out these accusations against the attorney, putting out these accusations against Devin Keith, putting out these accusations against whoever, and of course the recorded conversation of when, whenever she allegedly was intimate with another person, even though technically it was when they were not together anyway. So what are we talking about? Nonetheless, he was trying to just pin cheating on somebody else as the tit for tat, right? And this has just been his end game, right? And then, he's seeing the success of, the Holt kids, how much the audience loves the Holt kids. He's seeing the success of, Mama Van and the children's books that are taking place. Martell tries to copy that and do a children's book of his own. It gets a little bit of buzz, but not really. It came away just as quickly as it came. And then, he got jealous that, Sugar Mama has a line, right? So then, in the midst, he decides to have this custody battle, wants to try to get sole custody of the kids, because he wants access now to Mel's money. He now wants child support and alimony and all these things to have access to her financial documents. And he wanted the proceeds of Sugar Mama's line, the same Sugar Mama that he just said in last night's interview was trying to allege that he doesn't know whether or not he's the father, but he'll still be the father that stepped in. No. Your daughter looks just like you. Like, let's stop it, right? But I'm saying all of this for a reason, that Martell, you know, in the midst of this and blocking his kids now from no longer being on the show, no longer filming on the show, and Melody SHARI not even allowed to post her own kids on the show, he did this to, again, promote his outside baby and his side chick, right? Except for nobody's going to support that. Nobody's going to finance that. Nobody cares, right? So that was a flop. And then you flopped yourself because now you have no storyline, because you can't even do a storyline of being a single father when you're blocking your ex-wife from all this foolishness. And it was funny because he kept disrespecting Mel in this interview yesterday, but also kept calling her his wife. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to marry Coleslaw, allegedly. Who knows? Nonetheless, there was that, right? We have the cheating accusations. Martell didn't like that he was the only one exposed, tried exposing the Scotts, now exposes, you know, thinks he's exposing Mel, right? Tries to make his kids happen, tries to make all this money. It isn't working, so he now tries to get money from Mel, tries to block, you know, the Holt kids from being successful, and wants to prop up his kid, right? And then, of course, the alleged name change of having, you know, the outside kid have, you know, the name starting with the letter M, you know, for his ego or whatever, nonetheless, and nobody cares, right? And so now it is the bullying, the isolation, and trying to ice out Melody SHARI from her own show. That was a part of the next plan to try to take Mel down, right? But it ended up backfiring because, you know, there were people in the cast who decided they were going to run their mouths on social media and randomly start attacking the innocent Holt kids who have nothing to do with your beef with another adult. And ultimately, you know, ruin their own position on the show by partaking in this nonsense and threatening people, right? So ultimately, that, you know, really galvanized the millimeters, and they really activated and became like a really large fan base at that point, and really band together with these petitions to get people off the show that were not in Melody SHARI's best interest. Everybody except for Martell and Carlos King. But nonetheless, you know, it was successful, at least with Letitia's mom as well as Destiny, right? So the takedown attempt of Mel ended up failing, right? Even though the female co-stars in the show for some reason seem to still want to back Martell for some reason. Like even Marceau and Maurice have pivoted to an extent, but their wives are still like, oh no, we've got to throw Mel under the bus, you know, for the most minuscule things, right? So none of this works, right? Because ultimately, the viewership went down significantly. The petitions were working. People lost their jobs and no longer were on the show. Were claiming they were filming, but it never aired on their show, and all of these other things, right? So then we have that, right? And so then the next part of the takedown attempt, as we know, is the revenge P, right? And we know that both Martell and his side chick have corroborated this story publicly on audio, admitting to this revenge P, right? And trying to, again, try to write home that Mel is a cheater, that Mel cheated on Martell, even though it is her and Martell and this alleged footage, right? And, you know, he's flipping and flopping. First he said he had the footage, he was always going to keep this footage, you know, to try to use against Mel. Now all of a sudden last night on Tasha K it's deleted. Now all of a sudden the side chick never seen it before outside of her trying to check his phone because she knew she was not the only girl that he's dealing with, and still isn't, right? So therefore, she also said, though, on other platforms that she had access to it because he wanted her to create a fake page and, you know, post this revenge P on her page, post this video, while Martell is lying and saying it's just a screenshot or something as a threat or whatever, but that's not what the side chick said. And so, nonetheless, made it seem like they still had access to this, right? So now all of a sudden Martell does not know that there is a warrant out for his arrest, right? And gets arrested for this revenge P, right? And, you know, and it also has DV in it too, right? And he immediately, once he's released from prison, decides, you know what, I am going to call up all of the Love and Marriage Huntsville bloggers that I feel are going to be on my side or are going to give me an opportunity for me to, quote unquote, tell my truth, since, Melody Cherie wants to claim abuse and claim that she's protected. I'm going to go on my, somebody else's platform and say that I'm abused and that I'm not protected and all these things, and I'm not the villain. Right? Because this is one of the last cards that Martell has to play, right? To try to hurt Mel, right? Because he's exhausted all of his other options, right? And now he's trying to paint himself as a DV victim, right? And so then ultimately Tasha K takes the bait. And now we have, a complete and utter disaster, because literally he is just giving, more evidence, in this case, in this active case that he was supposed to have a gag order against and not supposed to talk about as it pertained to Melody Cherie and all these things, but just told all these lies and hypocrisies and contradictions yesterday that did him absolutely no favors, you guys. Did him absolutely no favors. But I say all of this to say for a reason. This man is diabolical. This man is diabolical, and everything has been tit for tat. Everything has been trying to, do everything in defense in response to anything Melody Cherie has got going on. He's jealous that Melody Cherie does not need him anymore. He is jealous that Melody Cherie changed her last name. He is jealous that Melody Cherie has ignored his bipolar advances of trying to still get back with her, although still trying to torment her and drive her mad in between when she doesn't respond to his foolishness and all these other things, right? And then has the audacity to lie and claim that he's a provider and that he's taking care of his side chick and all these things, but she's up here feeding kids like popsicles for breakfast. And you don't have food because Melody Cherie has to send over Uber Eats and DoorDash over to the place for the kids to eat something. So how are you taking care of anybody? And didn't Mel have to help out with the bills for a little bit, for the utility bills? And you're saying you and your side chick don't even live together? So what are you talking about? Right? What do you have to your name? And you're trying to be a hater. Meanwhile, Melody Cherie's sales are going up in response to all of this chaos, you guys. So there's that. Let me know your guys' thoughts about this. What do you guys think of the tit for tat that Martell is doing as it pertains to Mel? What do you think of Funky Dineva, having a moral compass and deciding not to answer Martell's call, deciding not to do an interview with Martell, but the damage is done at the same time. Right? So there's that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.